We wait for a few minutes. Once a couple of people join, then we can start our the interview. Okay, so let's start quickly. So this is the reason of this interview, like the videos. Like in last couple of weeks, I'm taking interviews for one of my client. Okay, so we got almost 100 plus resume from the manager. So in this, we have selected around 35 people for the first round. So there is a three rounds actually. So first round is technical, purely QA will take. The next round is managerial, so technical plus managerial round. The third one is as usual HR round for the selection process. So after selecting the 35, so like I was completely the every day we are taking two interviews, two to three max based upon the candidate availability. So what's the interesting thing is like we are taking for a senior SDET. So the person was experienced the for the like third 3 plus 4 plus up to 10 level. Okay. So in this, I want to share the how my experience and what questions I have asked in this those interviews. Okay, like we got a very good candidates as well, and we got like two upset candidates, like they are not even eligible for the interview at all to sit there. But I want to share those things, like what question I have asked, what kind of like what I felt on my experience in these 2 weeks. Okay, so parallelly while I'm showing some asked questions, you can answer in the chat even if you're not seeing the live and you're going to see the uh, uh, with this video in the future. So you can put your answers on whatever questions I'm telling. So I will reply in that thread as well in the chat. Okay. So let's go to the topic. And this is actually the technical round is 1 hour. So I'm going to share my screen and show the topics. What are the requirements actually we have been. Okay. So in the client app, the client has both web API and mobile. All three top QA. Okay, they have four different applications, web applications, and in that four, one application has a mobile feature as well. And out of all four, we need a API as well. So API testing. So the client currently have a Selenium Java. As usual, the market most of the companies have Selenium Java, but they need a candidate who was very good in Selenium Java at the same time Playwright, because they slowly migrating their Selenium JavaScript to Playwright, and in the future they are planning to write everything in the Playwright TypeScript. Okay, so you understand the concept, right? So they have a Selenium Java currently. They are slowly migrating, but they want the candidate should good in both, because they can able to update the current things, anything is failures, and the slowly in the migration plan, the candidate able to do it. And they have a mobile. So mobile they have very less thing. So they want a candidate who have a experience in the mobile as well. So whenever has a time after completing the web and AP, the candidate can able to work in the mobile automation as well to increase the coverage. Third one is API. So they have a very good trust API. So they need a right now they have a every most of the 60 to 70% case in the rest assured Java. Okay, so so that you come to know, right? So Java is their first priority, and next is Playwright TypeScript, and this is one of the biggest enterprise client, not a startup. Okay, so that's why they are taking a long process. They will take 1 week for technical round, then another will go for second round manager role, and third round will go to HR. It takes hardly even we are not looking to any. Keep in mind, we are not taking anything like immediate joiner. We are okay for 2 months, 3 months period also, because the client need a good candidate. And for that we are get so many companies like I interviewed like Infosys guy, Cognizant guy, EPAM, Deloitte, so many companies employees and small consultant companies employees also who attend that interview. because they are vendor for the company. Okay, so uh, you like this live is in 1 hour we need to ask all the questions to the customer. Okay, the Java, Selenium, Playwright, API, SQL. I want to test the manual skill, performance skill, mobile skill, agile skill, framework, leadership, and AI thing. So in one like so from this you can able to understand. So I have 10 plus topics here. So hardly I can able to ask 2 to 3 questions on each topic. And in some of the topic he want to code. Like in Java he want to code. In Selenium you want to write XPath. In SQL you want to write SQL query. In API he want to explain some of the status codes. So in 1 hour I want to cover his introduction to this one. So obviously the first one is introduction. So like how we are expecting introduction is not like a story from the first company. So you want to simply say you don't need to you don't need to say like where I'm coming from. No, you can simply say what is your roles and responsibility in your current project based upon your experience. Next question in the same introduction, tell about your technical stacks. What technically you know as a QS technical. Okay, so this describes his 2 to 3 minutes of time, like what is day-to-day activity, what is roles and responsibility in his projects, and the same time what he knows, what he don't know. So we are simplifying this question itself, like what question we can go and ask to the candidate, and what topic we can skip it, because some of the candidates, most of the QAs never get a chance to work on performance testing because they mostly work in function manual, web automation, and API. So for like out of 35, only 10 plus candidates who have experience in performance testing, that too not a full-time performance tester. They have a hands-on, but very little. The next out of 35, only 20 plus candidate has a mobile experience. In the 10 only has a full-time mobile automation. Remaining people who are studied for their personal growth. Okay, so from this you can able to understand only most of the candidates are everyone good in the web and API. API are almost 20 plus same API they worked on. So SQL overall experience is like hardly 15 plus people only write a query. Remaining I asked, I show you a couple of questions in SQL what I asked to the candidates. They not even able to write a simple select query. Okay, so that because nowadays due to the AI's evolution and the people's not getting DB testing, we are not even writing SQL, because if you are doing an API testing, the only secondary testing. So in the API validations, after your status code validation, response time validation, schema validations, everything, DB validation is a mandatory. So if you don't know write a simple SQL query, then how can you will do the how can we can believe you would done a DB validation, right? So that's why we implemented the couple of simple SQL query also. So like this interview experience, mine is like 50-50. Like 50% I'm happy to interview the candidates. 15% is like very tough for the candidate. Okay. The most good thing is communication wise, all of them, like due to the evolution of AI and people using mobile and everything, the communication was fine enough. Everyone able to communicate, even though they are not native or kind of speaking, they are able to communicate clearly and good. So that's like we got a contact across India. Okay, for this client. Okay. So in Java, so Java has three kind of category. So first we ask two questions, and third question we ask the candidate to share his screen and write a question, write a coding for that one. Okay, let's go to the questions. What I generally ask. No? So everyone knows OOPS concept of 5 setup thing. So we cannot spend 5 questions. So we selected 1 or 2 for each candidate, like either abstractions or interface or most probably most of the time is polymorphism like that. Okay, but question itself, I'm simply clarifying them. Like, don't say a book from the book. Like polymorphism is many form. So that is the book thing. So we, yeah, most of the candidates, I tell directly what I'm expecting from the question. Some of the candidates was automatically the answer. So I told them like you guys working on framework because you're a senior SDET. So obviously you want to explain any OOP concepts. So in any OOPS concept, you want to explain the framework. If the question is the inheritance, you want to literally say from your framework where you implemented that inheritance. If the question is about tell about the polymorphism or tell about the encapsulations or interface, you should say from your framework where have you implemented. Don't say about your application. That is, you don't need to explain the company. You want to explain from your framework structure where you are implemented the OP concepts. So you first one clear, right? So for you guys also, in any Java entry questions or non-Java also, Playwright or any also in Python also, if you're coming to this OP concepts, you want to explain where in your framework you implemented, tell exactly that method. So that makes the interviewer to believe you have a clarity on the question, not from a book, as well as you don't have a very good practical. So next question I simply asked to everyone like collections. Today's collection is the best thing in your framework or in your data science data structures questions everywhere. Collection is the thing. So we simplify that only four questions: either list, either set, or hash map. Okay, in the hash map like LinkedIn or normal hash map. So, like in this also, the two things everyone said the same thing. List is order, but you can store a null. Set is unorder, and you cannot store a null. So, 60 to 70% people said this two thing. I mean, this is in a book. Okay, you want to take an example. Okay, so take a student. In the student, if I storing a name of the students in a table from a table, I should go with the list because names contain obviously duplicate, but I need to store in alphabetical order or any order something. So I want a null and want a duplicate, I want the order of storage, I'm going for that one, sir. In a set, where you go for the simple in a same in a student, sir, I can take a student ID, obviously going to be unique, it never contains contains any kind of duplicate. So obviously I will select the set, sir. If you're in a LinkedIn hash map, so when any iterations, I should go in a linear order. Suddenly, I'll come to the coding part. So to tell about the LinkedIn hash map or hash map. So generally, I have three questions only, not a tough questions in a coding round. So after asking this two or three Java theoretical questions, and we are asking for a coding round. So I have a if you are following my YouTube channel, and I have a special of always I taking the coding round or expect interview questions. Even I didn't as usual I didn't complete the touch series also, but if you saw the my series, I have around 6 to 7 videos in it. So in the 6 to 7 videos is enough most to clear the interviews. uh, the thing is, you don't need a all the algorithmic data structure. No need. That is a developer's thing. You are QA SDET. Okay. So you should focus on the string sliding window or basic things is enough to clear out any round. Okay. So I have literally three questions only. One is find the first non-repeating character. So that's a common question I will ask. Because in that you have a list you want to use. You want to use the array, you want to use the for loop, you want to use the if statement, everything will come. In a single question, you can able to see that candidates coding neatness, like from the variable name selections, from the order of input, order of output, what is the edge case he is following, everything we can able to. So that is the one question. Second question, I simply ask like find the longest substring from the given string. So this also same list you want to bring, you want to approach anything. And we ask sometimes one or two candidates, if I feel they are very stronger, I went for anagram. Okay. So another question, either string question or another question, or some candidates, I I I ask like give me the numerical. Okay, which are the things it's non-repeating in the string, a numerical. Remaining everything is string. This is a numeric, like there is an array in a numerical 1 2 1 2 1 2 4 5. In this, I want the repeating numericals. Okay, so this kind of three questions only asked. So what I felt is even I'm not believing most of the candidates. What is happening? If I ask the same question to ChatGPT give one. It's moreover for you or me, it will the same only. So every candidate from the variable name what ChatGPT gives, what where this putting a semicolon, where it's like exactly from the ChatGPT or some other AI things like. So I was very curious. Like I was watching there most of the candidates' eyes, like they're going right or left or up or down or anyone. Okay, so the thing is like due to the era of AI, so we even though you study it in a way, you are good, you are positively fine, but we as a interviewer we were getting a feeling of that one. But what happens? This hash map on LinkedIn, everyone's directly went to an approach. So I asked which is the first repeating character. So in a string. So everyone simply went like one for loop, and he took a one hash map and he put it the for loop for each character and another loop to find the first character with the key as key and value whereas as a one he's taken. So as simple question, you use hash map, it will provide answer because you are using very smaller string, and most of the time it is if your ASCII value and your backend is stored in order, it will give a right value. But hash map has the issue. What issue? If anyone knows, you can tell. So what is the difference between hash map and linked hash map? So if you know the difference of this one, you can come to know this doubt. Why this code, like taking the each character in a string and storing in a hash map and going and finding the first non-repeating item. So anyone know? I will give some time. You can find it like why I said this issue, what we faced. Because everyone is writing the same way. Go to hash map, take it because it works. It's give results, but not always. So the issue, like the reason is simple. LinkedIn store in the LinkedIn order, like insert in order. If you're inserting A first means it will go. If you're storing T next means X three means three. But AshMap, it won't do like insertion order. It will store some like ash based upon the allocation and where the space is there. So I asked this question, why you using AshMap? And I said like this is works, sir. So the problem is when the interviewer asks any question, mean he does not mean he is asking for some random. Something his intention is there. So why you use the gun? And couple of people, what is happen when there is a string? Most of the people converting the string to char array, then they are going for hash map, then they coming for another loop. I ask like, what is the use of already have a string converting to the array, then you are going to the hash map for on loop, and he's like, sir, array is good. Like he's like, if there is a string, you have a character, right? Simply you can go to each character. You are taking another space as a array space and storing the string to one place, and again you are wasting that space and going for another for loop to go. So this is the way, like when you are writing a script in any coding, I explained this one clearly in my data structures for SDET interview questions. When there is a first set is you want to know what input variable I want to create. Then you want to have a clear idea what output variable I'm creating. These two is the main thing. Input variable and output variable. So if you have a clarity on this one, you know what is your aim is, whom you are going to return when your code is running. So what is happening? uh, People not thinking like a we want to think like a developer. Even though we are a QA, we only know manual testing, we know minimal experience in automation, uh, we are exploring for next, but here you want to step up, you want to be like a developer is not like a dummy developer, good developer who is writing a data structure very strong. You want to have a clear map before going to type. That's why in coding round generally takes 10 minutes. Due to the 1 hour of interview, I will ask the first thing, like explain me what you're going to implement. Then you go and touch your code. Some people able to explain, some people they're not able to summarize is what he going to approach. And so I ask him to type for a couple of minutes, then I will see his like typing like I interview got easily can know, like where he is giving a space, how he is selecting a variable name, then how he is doing the further steps, like where he is going to jump on the last line before solving the real logic. So this kind of things we are able to know. From that we able to understand the candidate capacity of scripting. So what I'm telling is we want to divide the testing, like the coding for your question is what is your input, what is your output, how many variables you need. So that section you want to complete first at any cost. So then only you can add. In the middle you come again for creating another variable, in the end you come again for creating another variable. No, you should clear on what variables you're creating. Next, there are any interview question, coding interview question, there are three lines. That is three lines of logic. You can do any mistake in any place, but the logic, that 3 to 4 line is the matter in any coding round. So if you know that 3 to 4 line logic, don't spend your timing on putting main method, class, in the end creating one method and calling another method. No, write that logic what you are required. So if you are finding the first non-repeating character means your logic should be very simple. If you are lacking in is storing the key and value and finding the, so next we are finding the first one. Otherwise, if you are too smart with the string offset, like like send index of that character and last index of characters, if it is both are equal, that is smart way of coding, but that's not an efficient one. But the interviewers want to know your traditional hash map or linked hash map. You are trying something which is a very simpler one. In a 3 lines of code you can complete the entire logic. You don't need an entire for loop. No. Okay, so that kind of things you want to write. You want to give 2 to 3, minimum 2. If you are too smart, give a 3 different solutions for a question. If you are medium person, give at least 2. One is brute force, very lenient with 2 for loops, nested for loops, and one with a list. So if you're giving this 2, you will crack the 60% of interview. Okay, so now we spent overspent on Java. So I told, right, we have a 3 set of theoretical question, one coding question to define that candidates. We putting a rating between 1 to 10 for each topic. To in the end, based upon this calculation, we are selecting the candidate for second round. Keep in mind, some candidates didn't work on performance testing, but we selected for second round. So you should not don't want to be a super duper in all the topic, but if you are good in web APIs, high priority, you get a job automatically. Then you can, in mobile and performance, you can upskill it and you can able to split. But first in web and API, you want to be too stronger. Okay. Next one, like Selenium. Okay, like in Selenium, there are so many topics. I stick to only one thing: how the candidate able to write the XPath and CSS. So what I get is simply I'm writing the that HTML tag. I give one tag for them. That's a form tag. So in this there is a one input. Okay, the 2 inputs, like it's a login form, username, password, and login button. In that input tag, so if you take, it has a, what are the attributes? It has ID, class name, placeholder, and test ID. Okay, so these are the things it has. Okay. Uh, but I asked them to write, if the candidate knows Playwright means, I asked them to write CSS, XPath, and Playwright locator. Okay, so I told them I want a best locator for this 3. I want a best CSS for this input tag for the password. I want the best XPath for that input tag, and I want the same playwright locator using the either placeholder or role based, anything which you felt that is important. So what happens? 90% of candidate who went to ID. So generally we have one idea, ID is unique. But what I made a trick is ID value contains like a PWT 133. So this is that ID value which is came. In the username, same username underscore 1234 something. Okay. So what happens? Every candidate went to ID, put expert like slash input tag at ID equal to PWT 23. Similar kind of. In CSS, same. They went to input square bracket without a tag ID equal to something. So I asked them like how you will select this as your XPath, CSS or placeholder, like Playwright. I mean, so because it's a dynamic, obviously there is a never be a numerical in any good product platform in ID because this ID is reference for front end developer who wrote this ID to for his reference, like this one, second one, this two, this one. If there is any numerical in the attribute of any HTML tag, we never ever believe. Other than the there is no option means go to contains, and but that also you should not give a numerical. Only you focus on the string. A string means alphabetical. I mean alphabetical any characters. So not even a single person who took test ID as a serious because test ID is simple. There's a test ID is simple. This is a very simple test ID, but people never have a see this kind of new attributes in the market. Mostly nowadays, div and test ID is lot roaming around between the latest trending UI developers. No one has take this one. I was literally shocked. Why? Why didn't we get a chance? And in the Playwright, if you anyone used Playwright, the most successful locator in the kind of Playwright, one of placeholder because Playwright will easily take that placeholder like enter the password like because it was in UI, so mostly the customers won't change that text easily. So placeholder, the next is it's go for role like a role or text box and the text box value something. Okay, in the third options, it's go for like page dot locator. But most of the time, it will go for placeholder role based ones in the Playwright. But this also no one has taken. They went for one, ID, then they went for name, then they going for class. Because if there is an example, what happens now? Username also same class name, a password also same class name, but they're taking a CSS, the class. I was little shocked, like, how can you believe in a class? I never believe in a class because class has never be the same. I spoke to a couple of in my full time UA developers. They use a class for their CSS to design the same font for across the website, same color for across. So they try to keep the same class names. That's why class name has a multiple values in real time because I want to keep a standardized entire website in the same pattern. So the CSS never be a unique. It is always a duplicate. It never in any place. So that's what we need to know the order. Okay, which order you should take. In the order, comparing the previous, where is the static, where is the dynamic, those things you want to know clearly. So then only you are able to write a good text. So in 60% candidate we failed because they don't know properly write a simple expert. They are very good. They are explaining so many exception types. They are explaining how is the Windows handling, how the frames we switch to the frames, how we go to alert. That and all good, but that are one or two times. It will come in an entire. Anyone writing a script means your Windows handling will come one or two times only, not daily. Your frames will come here and there, but writing expert is day to day work. So if you are not doing this one now, what is the purpose of explaining too much good in Windows handling, alerts, frames? No, no use because your first quality and the reducing a flaky test. The first problem of automation is flaky test. Too much of flaky failures. So again, our release will get delayed because of flaky. So how you become a very good without zero flaky means you should have a very good locator means even though if you are missed some weights to put also your locator will save you. If you take a very dummy locator means you want to put so many weights to wait for that character to find because your system will take that much time to identify the locator. Okay, so the most high priority is locator. Then I have a two set of things. The customer needs to either test engine Cucumber because both have been in their projects. Uh, so in Cucumber, I didn't ask how to write a scenario, how to write a scenario outline, how to write an example, because that anyone studied about cucumber, they can able to write it in any simple scenario. So I simply asked them like the most, if you're working on a framework level means framework level, not script level. I hope you understand. Script level is the framework is already there. You're going to write one or two test cases or going to debug the test case. That is a script. Framework means a structure. Where is your reporting? Where is your logger? Where is your utils methods? Those framework levels. So yeah, I simply asked, what are the hooks method? So generally hooks, everyone mostly cucumber like before and after everyone said. But that alone is not a framework. In real-time framework, there are multiple before, multiple after, before all, but after all, multiple things will be there in a real framework, not a latest minimal framework. I mean, I'm saying like good dynamic framework which supports all kind of framework, all kind of like patterns. So I ask simple questions. In your before method, what are the pre-setups you will do before going to write a script? Where you do the login, where you do the browser setup, where you do the reporting, where you do the listener, where you do this your logger, where you do like triggering all the pre-setups, objects, everything. So everyone like they're thinking like what could be there, even though I understand in you no, no most of us never going to work daily in framework is more of a skill than a setup. Changing in a framework you want to approval in the TL level, and the framework was created by before guy and you are just a patchworking guy in current project, or you are creating a new framework with a very less complexity, so we don't get a chance to do the framework. But when you in your entire career somewhere you will see one company as a good framework. Okay, that company you want to create that skeleton, how my framework is mapping on each method and each class. That clarity in your entire life, in QA's automation life, you want to keep that skeleton, where the framework is going, which kind of reports, which kind of, where we keeping, what are the good practice we are doing, where we doing the page object model, where I have the utils of other instruments, where I keep the utils of Selenium, where I may reuse methods of my project based, browser based, everything. That skeleton is the your key. Your entire career, you cannot get all the companies good framework. They just keep a dummy framework. But one or two companies they have very good framework because that is scale by scale for each independent research who developed in last 5 to 6 years for that company. Okay, from multiple like architects, lead, junior, senior, who so many people who are make that skeleton very clean. So you want to keep that skeleton in entire career, then only you will be able to answer what is there in the before roots, what is there in the after roots, what is the purpose of this one, where I want to create object, where I want to close that some objects, where I want to create a variable, how can I use that variable across, where I keep the config file, where I keep my resource files, where I keep my test data files, where I keep my database connections, where I connect my database, where I skip it, where I keep a centralized login. So everything, when you work on any real time, one of my good subscriber told me, sir, I was in my company, similarly your Playwright video, you explain the one simple but full-fledged framework. Similarly the same framework we have been using my project. So, but I didn't understand the framework, but no one taught me. But in your video, I understood what is the purpose of each file and what is the purpose of calling here and there where I want to mention. So that's the way you cannot get a chance, and no one is sit and teach to you what is this method. But in current AI world, take a simple screenshot. Ask ChatGPT, ask Gemini, what is this? Where is going to call? What is the use of this method? You will get an answer within a second. So that's the thing. Like when you are in any framework, if today you are working in a company that have a framework, but you don't understand the entire no issues. First, understand the folder structure. Then take one test case. I always say takes. Don't think too much test case. Take one test case. From the test case, run it. See the log, where and all it's running, where and all it's going. If you know one test case, how is end-to-end flow is running, you are a pro in your entire career. Okay, I think we spent more on framework. So then Playwright. So Playwright, it's like more super duper thing. Like only 30 to 40% people have Playwright experience. And why telling someone, even if you anyone follows my channel, I'm not a I don't cover much Selenium. No. I always covering TypeScript in Python, TypeScript in I mean Playwright in TypeScript, Playwright in Python like that. Because today's mark, I don't know after 2 years, but today I know Playwright will get you a job. Okay, so always, what is giving a job on that year? You want to know that one. You don't need to want to know previous year. We don't need to worry about future. Worry about this year, which kind of library, which framework or which thing is giving a job. Study that one. That's it. You don't need to worry about A will take my job. So if you spend daily 30 minutes in Playwright, and if you already know Selenium 60% or 70%, that's enough. Playwright will do all the super things. Okay. And uh, still, what this I missed, my candidates means they studied about they're getting confusion in the Selenium and Playwright. If I ask about weight, they are clearly explaining a Selenium, but they are not explaining the Playwright how handles. They say auto weight, that's common, but that alone not enough for a entire framework and entire scripting. So we need additional parameters and validations on kind of weighting. Okay, so they're getting confusions. So what is use of this place? What is that? So while studying, clearly study what is Selenium, how it's working on each topics, and same what is Playwright is doing that one. What is the context? So if you study in that way, I'm literally saying definitely you will don't get a confusion. Otherwise, what will happen in interviews? You don't know explaining in the Selenium way or explaining the Playwright way. You get a confusion, and the confusion never leads you. And I'm promising that one because I'm also came on that way while starting my Playwright. I was too good in Selenium because I taught almost 500 plus people in my training, in my office, my juniors, seniors. I was going for part time for one of academy to teach automation. So many people I was too good in Selenium, and increase also I crack any interview if I go and set it. But when I started Playwright, I was literally was getting confusions. Like, what is the same? What I weight I will use here? Which how do I switch to the method? Because I was good writing good in Selenium, but I wasn't able to convert. And in the locator selection, I was too good in XPath. But here, where is placeholder? Where is what is the role? What is this? What is label? I'm getting confusions. So then I studied clearly what is the benefit of Playwright. So why Playwright is coming. Then I slowly stopped Selenium. I won't say I studied Playwright well. No, I reduced my Selenium, increased my Playwright. Okay, you cannot go parallelly. It will tough. Reduce the one thing of usage, increase the others on usage. Then that's the way you are able to get a clarity. Otherwise, I want to study both things, both the topics, na, you will get a confusion. Reduce that one thing which you are not needed right now. Increase that which thing is new. Okay. Next API. So I don't want to spend much on this API because anyone knows automation Selenium, you can able to write simply API. But I asked only one question. All the people, you want to remember, all the people. I asked only one question. You have a post request. You are a senior QA. What are the validations you do for a post request? Simple. You don't need to explain anything. What is REST API? What are the types of requests? What are the types of status code? No. Simple. Tell me. You are a senior. You are a leader. You manage anyone. If you are getting a post request as a QA, what are the validations? Most of the people said like, I will validate 200. I will validate 401. So that three two common things. I told like, why are you going for get request? I said so. The people not have a clarity in the API, both in manual automation. What to focus on that each request. In put request, what I want to test validation. In get request, what I want to validate. In post request, I want to validate. If you are preparing for interview or in your project, focus on in get request, what are the validation I want to do as a QA. What in post request, what are the validations. Input request, what are the validation. Patch, what valid. That's it. If you know this four validations on each sector, don't confuse each other. All are independent and usage is independent. Okay. So if you have that clarity, you can explain anyone on strong in a, not only automation I'm talking about, clarity of how great is API testing compared to with the web UI. We can do n number of things in API testing more than UI testing, and we have more clarity of our application. You don't in UI some things, some fields will be shown, some fields won't shown, but in API, in response you'll get a 30-40 in a simple one request. You have a response of that much, that means data will come. Okay, then only in tomorrow when you're going to create a bug, you will have a clarity. This is a UI bug or it's so when you will become a senior, when you're creating a bug, you want to explain this bug is a UI bug or this bug is a backend bug. So if you are able to differentiate, that one means in any application you are a pro in that project. Leave other projects. In that project, in your applications, that means you have a clarity in your what is the application, where is the issue is happening, where should I should see the log, where how can I validate my DB to check the result is right or wrong. So that level of knowledge where you come now once you know the API testing and API usage. Okay. Next question I asked. This is the first question is validation, post validation to see the experience of the person, like what he is doing positive, what is doing negative, what is he's doing in the security, DB validation, what he's doing in the performance, what he's doing in the overall other steps, right? So only 7 to 8 things. Okay, in the negative, what is status code is covering. In positive, what status code is doing. What's how is schema validation is doing. How is doing the header sections. Those things. Okay. Next question is Pojo, because I like automation, AB automation, and Pojo only. And until Pojo class, I didn't get that good vibe in the AP test. I wrote one simple Pojo first time in my life. After that, I get interested with that because writing a JSON is very tough. You want to JSON object converting that one. That is a idiot one actually. Handling the JSON alone. But Pojo is more structured. So it's easy. Getter and setter. I don't know how many people like that. Getter and setters. I like getter and setter. Because every variable you want to put getter and setter. And if you done that structure skeleton once in your life, you know the synchronization and desynchronization easily. So while sending a request and validating a response, it's easy when you have a Pojo knowledge. So what I did is I gave a people, okay, one JSON. In the JSON, it has kind of name, then address. Address is another object, so it has contains, and next one is some field, but that field is array. Okay, simply you guys understand. I asked everyone simple question: how many classes required for this or JSON structure? Okay, so some people due to the fields, some people like 4 5 as like when you're seeing a structure of a bigger JSON, don't need to worry too much of classes. Think where is the object. If the object comes means class. People think like there is an array, that is section. I need a class. No. Array is a simple array list. What you need to worry about, that is a class. So I asked this question to everyone, like how many classes required for this Pojo class? If they said like I know Pojo, so then I will give the JSON. I ask them how many classes required, how many objects you want to create, how many variables you want to create. So if you good in this 4 validations, then you're good in Pojo, you are a great in API testing. You will, because you have clarity what to do. Okay. Next, go to SQL. In SQL, like my all-time is go-to question. Okay. What is the go-to question? No, find the second highest salary. If one person is able to write that one, he is good. But the thing is, there are 3 ways. Some people use subquery as usual, max less. Some people put a ranking and select that one thing. And third one is offset, taking the remaining limit and taking the offset. Okay. So I always like people to tell this question. I always want to inspire, like, good candidate, great candidate. What is good candidate, great candidate? Good candidate give a one good answer, but great candidate tell all three options and tell in the three option this is good, sir. I can able because this is time efficient, space efficient. That makes the candidate is a great candidate. I does not mean we are not selecting good. We are selecting good candidates, but when there are out of 35, I have 5 good candidate means how can I select one person? So at the time I am the great candidate, right? So that's the situation we came, because after each round we are thinking like, can we send the second round? But we think like this candidate is less than the previous candidate, na? So they can send both or only that person. So that thinking how it's coming, because great candidate and good candidate. Okay, so when you know any answer, think like this is an answer I'm getting, but is there any efficient way? Okay, then some candidates has a good too good in SQL. So second question I went for join, because one person is able to write a second higher salary means the next one I want to test a join. So if he is good in join and basic aggregate functions, like all the aggregate functions and having where like that three words and joins, if you know that SQL is enough for a QA. You don't need to know the insertion, you don't need to know delay or anything. In a selection, aggregate functions, having where like and joins. That's enough. You will become a good SQL and you will get a. And this one, like even though we're selecting a senior, we want to know the process of that person, how he is doing the manual knowledge, because anyone who following me know last 5 to 6 years I was in startup. In startup we don't have much employee, one employee for each project in a company. That person is the manager because he need to do strategy. That person is a TL, he want to do the task allocation. That person is a senior QA. You want to write a manual test case. You want to write a autonomous case. That person is a beginner because you want to understand the application every time. So only one person need to do all the role, because startup will work in that way. Not like service companies like Cognizant and Capgemini, TCS. If you go in, they have 4 to 5 people in a team. Like each one will do what functional team one will do. UOT team is there. They will do one task. Automation team is there. They will do. But in startup only one. So I want to know the senior person should know all the QA process, even though he is working on most of the time automation or other leading things. Manual testing is the base. If you are strong in your base, your entire life you are in a strong building. If your base is wrong, your entire building will collapse too. That means you want to know the all this testing strategies, testing methodologies. So we simply ask me and my another colleague would join all the interview. So most of the time I like his couple of questions. He asks simple question. How we will make sure you done a complete coverage? So most of the guys are simply saying, I will do the functional testing. But I felt like my colleague didn't get impressed by the questions, by the answer, because you want to see the base of the each candidate, how he will do the exponential coverage testing on each term. So we can tell hundreds of testing types, hundreds of boundary value conditions. We have understanding of multiple methods, RTM, for like final things. So we can explain the manual, because manual is the theoretical. Manual look like a boring because it's too theoretical, but manual is a very interesting one, because if you have a basic logical thinking and communication is enough for a manual testing. Okay, you don't need to be a super giant or anything. And that too in AI era, your manual task is like too simple, but it's very critical, but it is less risky. I mean, less complex, not risky. Risky is there, less complex. And third one is performance. Now we go performance. Now I like the people uh, who knows performance testing. So you don't need a chance. I agree. Even in my 9 years career, only 2 company I got performance testing. Not a full timer, but for the project requirement. But what I like performance testing means you can play around it because you are a 1,000 employee. You are not one employee. You can be like a 5,000 employee, 10,000 employee, and test your application because your work is less there. I mean, your setup is one-time setup, now its work is less. But when you click on that one, now the data will full like this one, and you will enjoy like that numerical. It's like a game actually. The using JMeter or any Blazor or anything, like K18, it's like a game machine. You set up one thing and click on that button, wait for the result. Obviously, most of the times it will crash or it will work, it won't work. You can simply go and tell to the developer like this is the response time, this is throughput, and this is very bad. So, more than other testing, performance testing is like a gaming. Okay, but uh, the opportunity is less only. But that's why the companies need a full-time candidate who should know performance testing. Whenever it's required, they can use it instead of hiring a new employee for the independent performance testing. Because my sister is a full-time performance tester. She taught me several things in my starting career. When I get a chance to perform testing, I don't know performance testing, so I went to my sister and asked her like, because she's using load runner because load runner is costly. Not every company will offer. Only JMeter is there because it's a free version. Free. Every company is that JMeter. Okay, so but she taught me like how to where to focus, where to spend more time. Like it's not like writing more coding or things like it's like a simple thing, but you want to very clarity because it will break your application. Okay. So next one we want today's era like mobile testing, and even though not everyone get a chance to mobile testing because most of the applications in the enterprises and the are web applications. Only in startups and very minimal mobile application is there in the enterprise. I mean, Mm. So in that also getting a chance to work on both Android and iOS stuff because India is mostly most of the apps like focus on the Android as the highest priority because the number of users India is Android is higher compared with the iOS. So so I asked simple question only or three questions. Okay. So one is the what are the like capabilities you need for Android and iOS? That is a simple question. Everyone want to know clarity. The next one, I like this question very well. We are writing only one framework. We are not writing multiple framework. One Android, one iOS. No, we are testers. We keep only one repo. I always curious if anyone is good at mobile automation, and I want to keep only single framework in the single framework in a single variable, I want to store two locators because Android locator is different, iOS locator is different. I always want to know people how many people have that knowledge, what methodology. In simple Appium only, in Appium, what methodology are you using to store their two locators, iOS and Android, in a single variable in a page object model and implementing it because the logic is same only always. But only thing is it will differ on the locator. The application flow is common for an entire thing, right? Because when I doing mobile automation, I like that place, like how to when I got the knowledge of storing a two variables in a two locators in a single variable and utilizing that great thing in a single variable running with just a configuration of somewhere we have the flag iOS and Android flag because some logics or some things iOS and Android will change and remaining things will entirely application flow is same only. Okay, so I want to know anyone have a same knowledge and mobile testing is good for the client. Okay. The third one I asked. Okay. So the problem of Android and iOS is here only the most important thing is the cloud services like browser stack and lambda test. But that two only I know. There are other custom companies also, but browser stack and lambda test was my experience. Most of the company has. So we want to know that basic skills, browser stack and lambda test, anything which is based on experience because where we can run our local system or local our independent our inside Kubernetes from our own company repo. But mobile we cannot do that one, and mobile is a little trickier to find locators and the this cloud services, either Bruce Stack or Lambda Test, have those good their dashboard platform to identify locator, installing the new build and doing the testing and running and the selecting the various type of versions of OS devices, those things. So they are too good. So I want to know anyone has a good mobile testing means take a trial. If you don't have a project level experience in mobile means for own study also you take your own money, process stack and lambda test, learn it because it's reduce your work. Okay. Next plus 9 before means you are a not only junior, okay, you want to have a knowledge of how to work independently, individual contributor. At the same time you have want to capability how to run a team, how collegially you are distributing the work, you're taking their work and helping them. So that leadership quality should be there 3 plus, and up to 3 only you are a beginner, you're junior level QA. After 3 years, up to 9 years you are senior. Okay, some people have got luck and become TLs before the 9, but 70% up to 9 years you want a senior estate. So you should have a individual contribution as well as a leadership contribution. Some people think like I'm only doing leading, I'm not doing work. No, then you are not eligible at all. If any good, even up to architect level in a QA, you should have hands-on 50% and a leadership 50%. That you want to upskill in both the places. And if you don't have them, you want to proactively take that responsibility and do it. Leadership, I mean. Okay. So next one is the CSCD. Like we don't put too much pressure on this one because everyone knows in the enterprises this and all goes to DevOps team because they have pure independent team. That they will help you, but you should have a basic knowledge of Jenkins. So we ask a couple of questions, and GitHub Action is most of the companies are working, and Azure because pure enterprises use most of them Azure. Medium people will use Jenkins, and some startup kind of things they will go to GitHub Action because they are very less cost. Okay, so we ask very simple question only. So only you want to know the whenever when you're running, when you got failure, you have the knowledge of go to console output and see that error and identify it's the environmental error or your coding error or Jenkins error or any CC error. So environment, any CC error or your coding or application error. So that debugging skill, right? That's the most vital thing in the CACD. Because when you go in, suddenly they will ask you, oh, Jenkins is failed, the last build is failed. Go and find it, see where it's failed means. When you open it, it's 1,000 lines. So you want to know where that file is failing, how to navigate in the debugging, and identify and report the bug or it's a flakiness. Okay, so that experience you want to gain it. Tough only, but when you're grooming up from the beginner, like junior to senior, you want to do that obviously. So one or two times you do it means that's it easy. You know where to find it. Okay. The next one is AI. So we want to see the candidates really using AI. So at least minimum, you should have the Chat GPT, or at least should use the cloud in your VS Code, in the extension. Add a VS Code cloud for VS Code. Take a free service and try to implement basic that one, or go to ChatGPT and do it, or use any cursor like I always tell today's everyone knows I'm building a level up AI. In future, it will be easy for you guys to do the automation. But I tell you right now, like everyone want to know how to prompt. More than a prompt, you should want to know your application and framework. Okay, and like don't mistake. Spend some money on ChatGPT or Claude or Cursor kind of editors, okay, uh, for your future. It's not like some how you're going for some courses to study, right? The same way you invest the money in AI, Today it not be beneficial, but in the over the run you will get a more beneficial. Okay, so I covered most of the things. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, uh, uh, simply put in the chat. Anything I missed out in anywhere, uh, tell me that one. And my experience was too good in the interview. Had a long time because I last 6 to 7 months I didn't take interview due to my work pressure and building a level up and my personal business things and all, and working in a full time QA. All are hitting me a lot. So the thing is, simply for interview you don't need to be a, what to say, fully trained in all topics, but prepare very well, because the interviewer who is sitting opposite, you're not only one candidate, and the timing of select the candidate is first 10 minutes. The mindset will be fixed. The based upon the answer the candidate is explaining, it got fixed. Then after that, the candidate to make the interviewer to get hired, if it is those negative means, you need to get more effort to make that positive mindset. So when you're getting a questions, like first the introduction part, uh, show the possibility. And I see in the communication, I told everyone is good communication, but the problem of communication is where to stop, where to continue. Okay, when the or like if you get interrupted while you speaking, means the interviewer's feeling like you are telling too much for the question. That's why, because as I said, right, I have only 1 hour. I have 10 plus topics. I want to ask 3 4 questions for every topic. Then I want to put you mark in the meantime while you're talking. And in the same day, 3 interviews tomorrow, 3 interviews. In the end of Friday, my manager, that client will ask how many people going for the second round means. Understand the in interviewer, he only puts that mark that day. He don't know who you are. He can forget everyone. That time he only sees the marks what you put, and based upon the calculations like the candidate for second round. So I explained what are the things I asked. So focus on that one. Okay, so in the future, anything you want some in the relevant interview based, put that. And I'm going to continue my text sooner once the level up AI complete that build up and went to market. Let makes QA future very good. Okay, so thanks for watching, and if you like the video, please like and subscribe. And if you want any topics, please put me in the chat or DM me anything. So I will try to bring more topics in future, more AI oriented. I won't say like AI. That's a worst word I ever like it. The thing is, utilize it. Don't now your jobs never goes out of you, because human need human. So thanks for watching. Oh, all the best for you.